We're going to look just briefly at 1 Kings chapter 10 and the visit of the Queen of Sheba. I have been wrestling with this one this week because I think there's some history here that is hard to dig out, partly because we don't really know exactly where the land of Sheba was. We're fairly certain it was in Ethiopia, but we are not certain. Tradition gives us that it is in Ethiopia, but that tradition is a little on the shaky side. The Ethiopians certainly claim that the Queen of Sheba came from that region, but we don't know. They actually have a tradition that for century upon century, the ruling queen of that kingdom, the Sabellian kingdom, was named Candace, such that if you were to go here, this would have been Candace, the first, second, third, whatever, something like that. And then you get all the way down to the Ethiopian eunuch that meets Philip in the book of Acts, and he's an official at the court of Queen Candace, and she's Candace the 47th or something of that nature. That was the throne name, all right? Madeline becomes queen of the Ethiopians, and she starts being called Candace. So that's just what happens. Those stories, those traditions, they need a little bit more study for understanding, but we do think that there is some connection to Ethiopia and Israel at this time. The main point, I think, here, and this is generally agreed with, is that what the author of Kings is trying to communicate is that Solomon's wisdom was not just known to his neighbors. Ethiopia, Sheba, Seba, Sabelia, Seba, whatever you would like to translate that as, is quite a bit of a distance away. In fact, it's very possible this whole trading voyage with the baboons, that's at least a stop-off point. That the queen says, where are y'all from? And so while the trading voyage is off and finishing up, or perhaps after it's come back through, she says, well, we're going to load up and go back to where they came from. Exactly why she came, of course, when she comes, she says, I heard about your wisdom and I wanted to come see if it was true. It's also possible that she has heard about the riches and she wanted to come see if the country was weak because everybody was off on this trading voyage so she could come conquer it, which is entirely possible as well. This is politics after all. This is not romance, this is not religion, this is politics. So you would have had that to deal with. But it is clear that she had heard something of the wisdom of God, and so she comes to check it out. And she's heard of God's wisdom as displayed through Solomon and what Solomon says. And so as we come through this, we see the Queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon concerning the name of Yahweh. She came to test him with difficult questions. She came to Jerusalem with a very large retinue, with camels carrying spices and very much gold and precious stones. She came to Solomon. She spoke with him about all that was in her heart. Solomon answered all her questions. Nothing was hidden from the king which he did not explain to her. When the Queen of Sheba perceived all the wisdom of Solomon, the house that he had built, the food of his table, the seating of his servants, the attendance of his waiters and their attire. That's right. The uniform of his waiters even mattered. The attendance of his waiters and their attires, the cupbearers, the stairway by which he went up to the house of the Lord. There was no more spirit in her, or she was left breathless. Okay, keep in mind, biblical language in Hebrew and in Greek both, the word for wind, breath, and spirit is the same. So, for example, New American Standard translates that as there was no spirit left in her. It would also be there was no breath left in her, or she was breathless. It took her breath away. She was astounded. She was astonished at this. In the same way that you might look at something and go, wow, that was amazing. She said to the king, it was a true report which I heard in my own land about your words and your wisdom. In other words, she didn't just hear it passing by. She wasn't on her way someplace else and thought she'd just stop off. She heard about it at home. And the point that I want to make to you all tonight is just simply this. Solomon had wisdom granted to him from the Lord. He asked for it, God gave it to him. Because he had wisdom, it was obvious to the people around him. It was obvious to the world at large that there was something about Solomon and his wisdom. And in fact, she goes on to extol how blessed the people are who work around Solomon because they get to hear him every day. They get to hear his wisdom. They get to learn from him. They get to experience being around him. As followers of Jesus, as those to whom the promise is made in the first chapter of James, if anyone is without wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all freely and without rebuke. God gives us wisdom. We will but ask for it. We will seek God's wisdom. We ought to have his wisdom. We ought to grow in his wisdom. And it ought to be visible, and it ought to be something that we share with other people. And if you were to think about 5 people that you could ask the question, do you see wisdom evident in my life? Think about 5 people that you interact with on a somewhat regular basis. If you ask them, do you see wisdom evident in my life? What would they say? Don't ask them if they agree with everything that you say. That's a bad question. Because almost nobody does. But think about people that you regularly interact with. Do they see wisdom evident in your life? Do you share it? Solomon doesn't hold back. And additionally, Solomon's people that have gone out from him apparently don't hold back. Because they haven't said, let's keep this a secret. Let's make sure that we gain the wisdom that God provides for us. Live that wisdom out in the actions. Put it into practice. And let's put it on our mouths to share it. Starting with, there is but one name under heaven whereby we must be saved. All the way down through, we'll love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our mind, with all our strength. We'll love our neighbor as ourselves. And as we do that, we see the fruit of the Spirit come forth. And we live with love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. That we make sure that people hear. Because folks don't hear unless we say something. Make sure our actions don't overpower it. Make sure our actions aren't loud. Don't say something opposite from our words. But then let's make our words clear and share the wisdom of God, because it should be visible to the people around us that we have. Just like Solomon's was visible to the Queen of Sheba. Just like it was evident to all the people around him. Let's let ours be evident to others. Because here's the thing, the one who gave Solomon wisdom is the one who's promised to give you wisdom. The evidence of Solomon's wisdom comes back here right after the Psalms. Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon. The wisdom of Solomon is but a portion of the Word of God. So you can be as wise as he was. If you'll ask and seek. And knock and let the Lord open to you what you need to know. Let's pray. Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for your wisdom and your grace and mercy. Pray that you will help us evidence your wisdom